Alright, this lesson is going to be looking at a right triangle and how we could use the Pythagorean Theorem. So the first thing you see is that these are all the sides of a right triangle, leg A, leg B, and then the longest side, which is always opposite of the right triangle, is called the hypotenuse. The Pythagorean Theorem states that a squared, this side right here, take whatever it is, square it, plus b squared, which is whatever's this side, square it, is going to be equal to c squared. Okay, whatever the hypotenuse is. You can use this formula to figure out if you know one of them. If you know two of these, you can find out the other one using this formula. So here's how it will look. Example number 1. Find the length of the hypotenuse of the triangle. So the first thing I recommend doing is writing your formula. Okay, a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Okay, and now we can plug in our values. This is our a side. You can also make it a b, whatever you want. We just have it color coded to make it easier. So you're going to plug in 5 for a. You have your b side, which is 12. Okay, and that'll be squared, and then it equals c squared. Our goal is to find out what c is. So we're going to plug in our numbers. 5 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared. Go ahead and simplify those. 5 squared is 25. 12 squared is 144. So we get those two. Combine those. We get 169. Now, in order to solve something that's squared, we need to do the square root. The square root of 169 is 13. Thus, c is equal to 13 and is our longest side of our triangle, which makes sense. In a right triangle, the longest side is always going to be the hypotenuse. Now, looking at another example, example number 2. Okay. I'll be finding a missing length. Now notice here that 2.9 centimeters is the hypotenuse. Okay, so this is the C part. Alright, so first thing when we're dealing with this, write your formula. It's a good guide. Okay, notice we're missing the A, we do have the B, we have the C, so we can go find A now. So knowing this information, we have 2.1 times itself, then we have 2.9 times itself. Go ahead and write those out. Now we need to simplify our problem by doing 4.41. Got to move it to this side to get a squared by itself. So if we subtract 4.41 from both sides, we get a squared equals 4. When you do square root of both sides, you get a equals 2. Okay, so 2 is going to be a. Now, we can go back and check this if you'd like, but you'll notice that the two legs again are both less than the hypotenuse. It'll maintain that relationship. Hopefully that gives you a good little idea for the basics. As for application, where is this going to be used? I mean, you're going to use it a lot more than you think. It comes up a lot. In my life, I use Pythagorean Theorem quite often. But here's one basic example of where you might see it pop up. So if you're playing Capture the Flag, you are 50 yards north and 20 yards east of your team base. So there's your base. Okay, you're right here. Okay. The other team base is 80 yards north and 60 yards east of your base. How far are you from the other team's base? Okay, so you to your other base right here. How far is it from here to here? Well, putting this in a graph and looking at it as a triangle, you can notice that this leg here is 40, this leg is 30. Well, isn't this length right here, when you make this right triangle, that's the hypotenuse. So, using your formula, I'd recommend using a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay. Name one of them A. We're going to use 30 as our A and 40 as a B. You can switch them if you like to. And go ahead and solve. 30 squared is going to give you 900 and 40 squared is going to give you 1600. Add those two up, you get 2500, and then the square root of 2500 is 50. So we know that I am, or you, to the other base is a total of 50 yards away. So that's using real life math, Pythagorean Theorem. Hopefully that helps out, and I'll see you all tomorrow.